ACC history to achieve that pretty good company. Tim Duncan and Ralph Sampson, yeah?
That's a pretty good list to be on.
Here we go. Third game of the year for North Carolina. The fourth for the visiting Highlanders. North Carolina in their Carolina blue inside the Dean Dome. That does not happen often. UC Riverside in those whites. More on that in a few moments. Very veteran roster that has helped North Carolina get out to a 2-0 start. Here's Harrison Ingram, one of the first year heels with a sweet little turnaround.
Right, UC Riverside starts in the man-to-man, and that's going to be hard to defend. North Carolina has pretty good size at every position.
There's a starting lineup for a UC Riverside team that won 22 games a year ago, most in their Division I history, which is about a couple decades old now. Some new players in the rotation. They lost their top three scorers, so Mike Magpaio trying to figure things out early on. At the line, this is Ben Christie. So UC Riverside, Dan, we just mentioned it, they're wearing their home white uniforms. They ordered new uniforms this year as a program. The road ones haven't come in yet, so UNC was gracious enough to say, yes, hey, we'll wear our Carolina blue tonight.
There's nothing wrong with Carolina blue. The fans around here like that color.
So hat tip to the SID extraordinaire team. Steve Kirshner says, hey, the last time that North Carolina wore those Carolina blue uniforms at home against an opponent 10 years ago. It was part of a New Year's Eve game. Blue Year's Eve was the theme. So go figure, here they are wearing them once again 10 years later.
But no marketing genius was involved in this one. So it's just because poor guys from Riverside, their uniforms haven't shown up yet.
Well, so far, the one win and 2 losses with those white unis. There's the big man who can stretch it, the 6'11 junior from Australia, Ben Christie, who is just at the line. So he's got a 4-2 lead over UNC.
But this is what UC Riverside does. They shoot the three. Almost half their field goal attempts come from beyond the arc.
Ingram watches that one rim down and out. Yeah, Dan, they took 36 last time they played on Sunday at Portland.
Well, they've played 3 games and they've launched 97 of them. Now, they haven't shot it particularly well so far.
This is Christie. Kicks it back out to Barrington Hardress. He's going to run the point at times, along with this man, Isaiah Moses. Into the paint, out to Christie, only 2 to shoot. So Hardress has to hoist from way out there.
It's going to be hard for them to penetrate inside that North Carolina defense.
Cormac Ryan finds the big man. Easy deuce for Bacot.
Well, it's tough because you're taught to go and help, but it's really hard to leave Armando Bacot. He catches the ball so well inside, and you get him the ball that close to the basket, just forget it.
That was an easy look for him. In that game against Lehigh last weekend, a lot of single coverage. Didn't face too many double-doubles, and he tore up the D. Went for 22 and secured 20 rebounds. There's another 3 from deep, this one long. Will Tattersall couldn't get it to go, and new 20 for Riverside.
Coming in, Riverside is shooting 28% from beyond the arc. So they shoot them a lot, but they don't make a very high percentage.
2 losses at Utah and at Portland away from home. It's a long possession that North Carolina has had to play defense. They come away with a stop. This is the very versatile Ingram. Ryan, a baseline drive. Look who's open. Here's R.J. Davis. No.
That's great ball movement. It's exactly what you want to get. Just like the ball to go in the basket.
North Carolina in its first 2 games. They scored 90 against Lehigh last week and then 86 in the opener against Radford. We're still early. Things looking pretty good and smoother in the offensive end. Offensive foul on Kyle Owens.
Well, Owens at 6 feet 8 has a couple inches and a few pounds on Paxton Wojcik on the inside. And while you will see it's very hard for a help defender to draw a charge, if you maintain your guarding position and you're the primary defender, referees are still calling charges. That was a good call.
Especially with that offensive player, they just dip the shoulder, try to drive it into the defender. Here's Ingram. Left that one a little short on the runner down the right alley. Moses slipped. Looked like his foot caught the end line. He's out of bounds. So Riverside just 1 of 5 from the field to start.
And they really haven't gotten good opportunities. You're getting a look there at Isaac Moses, and he was a junior college All-American last year, but he's still adjusting to the college game. He's only 6 feet tall. And Mark Magpie told us that he's used to having bigger guards than that, and so that size might be a factor tonight. Now,
I'm going to get a foul underneath. Looks like Washington drew the personal on Ben Christie. Our first timeout, 4 up inside the Dean Dome.
A dream is a wish your heart makes.
Reloaded roster. You see the number 20 ranking next to the name. Not just due to what they brought back, but also some of the impactful transfers that Hubert Davis and this staff signed out of the portal. There you go. Cormac Ryan, Harrison Ingram, Jalen Withers, and Paxton Wojcik. Some of the key transfers that joined this roster.
Ryan, Wojcik, and Withers are all graduate students.
Yep.
And Ingram, he comes in as a junior, so there's a lot of experience. Those guys have played a lot of minutes in college basketball. They know what needs to be done to work hard to win games.
And Hubert Davis has been very candid about it's not just the experience and versatility that is going to help this team this year. Boy, he loves the depth. And a lot of that veteran depth as well. Jalen Washington buries a first triple for UNC.
That's his first attempt and first make of the year. He came in with the reputation as somebody who could shoot him from out there. Hadn't had a lot of opportunities so far.
Everybody knows the value of R.J. Davis and Armando Bacot. Washington, one of those freshmen turned sophomores this season, aiming to take a step forward. Washington, number 13 in the Carolina blue. Here's Davis off the screen, attacks, and lays it in.
That's just a great job by North Carolina. They rushed the ball up the court, never allowed the defense to get set. There's not a lot of shot blocking out there for the Highlanders at the moment.
Tallest player on the floor is this man right here, Ben Christie, 6'11". Not really a rim protector, more of a stretch 5.
Yeah, but so far after that first 3, North Carolina has done a great job getting out on him, limiting his ability to shoot it.
Hargress, the hesitation move to get close range. And did that one even hit the rim? If it didn't, it is a shot clock violation. Mike Magpie is suggesting.
Yeah, Mike Magpie is suggesting that the ball did hit the rim, and the officials are saying no, it didn't. And that's not one where you have to go and review it. If the officials are sure, and they are, then they don't need to go look.
And so therefore, shot clock violation. North Carolina coming back the other way. Here's Ingram. Ryan into the paint and wide open. Frees him up for the lay-in. Couple of clean looks at the rim so far for North Carolina. And the Heels are on a 9-0 run. Jalen Martinez puts a stop to that.
Well, he's got a little more bulk, Martinez does, than Christie, and so with Martinez in the game, you can expect to see the Highlanders try to throw it inside a little bit.
Elliot Cadeau attacks off the window and in. There's the freshman 5-star. He's turned a lot of heads. Yeah. He and Davis, the primary ball handlers early on for UNC. Nate Pickens.
You got to shoot that.
Kick out. Hargress, 4-3.
Okay, well, 3 is better than 2, but that's a tough one to pass up. Salaridze had it right next to the basket.
And so there's the first triple to go down for UC Riverside. You mentioned they're going to take a ton. That is Mike Magpie's philosophy. Space the floor, let them go. Here's Bacot. Posted up on Martinez. Finds Ingram, and he sticks it.
North Carolina doesn't take as many, but they can really shoot the ball when they have openings like that. You give Harrison Ingram that much time, that's a pretty easy shot.
And we're only 5 of 17 from deep against Lehigh. They have connected several times early on now. Ingram with 5 and 14 in that game on Sunday. Ingram is in very short order earned the trust of his staff. Aforementioned transfer from Stanford. Hargress, that's a tough one, off balance. That's going back the other way.
Great defensive job by Armando Bacot. I mean, he moved his feet very well. Nate Pickens was trying to drive the ball to the basket. Pickens is a guard. He just couldn't get past Bacot.
Just how do you put into words the value of a player like Bacot returning, using that extra year to come back one more season on this roster?
I'm not sure that you can adequately describe it in words. Having him changes everything. What a pass, what a catch.
And he's going to the line for a pair. North Carolina with a 7-point advantage. And one of the first-year heels, Harrison Ingram. Give him that much space, he'll knock it down. Good start.
Auto Owners protects your home.
First ever meeting between North Carolina and UC Riverside. UCR coming from California. The campus is about 60 miles east of downtown Los Angeles. Their head coach, now in his 4th season, Mike Magpayo. He's the reigning Big West Coach of the Year. You do that when you guide this program to 22 wins, their most in their short Division I era.
And the story about how he became a basketball coach, much less a head coach, a guy who runs a successful mortgage lending company in Southern California, gives it all up to become a basketball coach.
It was always in his DNA, hoops, his love for basketball. He didn't go to college to play, went to UC Santa Barbara, gets a degree in economics, he was telling us. But while he was running this multi-million-dollar real estate company in Southern California, he was always coaching on the side. He was coaching rec leagues, AAU, CYO, and whatnot. He was always emailing coaching staffs in the area, asking if there were any open positions, what value can I bring to the table. So, yeah, Dan, the story goes, after the housing crash, the late 2000s, he says, I'm going to go get my master's in real estate at NYU. And he decides, let me send some emails out to some coaches in the New York area. Only one person got back. That was Kyle Smith, the head coach at Columbia. And he said, yeah, come on down for an interview. And he almost tried to talk Mike out of becoming a college basketball coach. He said, I don't know why you're going to do this, but after some convincing, Mike got a job as a director of basketball ops. And 10 years later, he becomes a head coach. An improbable story, one that he says, hey, I'm the luckiest man on earth, but one that he is very fortunate for and grateful for.
Well, Bacot just did what Bacot does, and that is an offensive rebound and a basket.
With that basket, Armando Bacot now into the top 10 in UNC program history, all time in scoring. It was only a matter of time before he got there. But Salaridze doing some nice work, some arduous work down to the block. And draws the foul. And he ties the late great Walter Davis now for 10th all time in program history in scoring.
Well, obviously his name is all over the record books here in North Carolina. He's just so relentless.
More than 1,800 points he just saw, more than 1,000 rebounds. And the stats continue to pile up. He challenges that Gristy 3, and we got another whistle underneath. So on the heels of the Trimble foul, Jalen Withers just got whistled for his personal.
And the interesting thing about it is UC Riverside is not going to stop shooting those threes. They're not going in there. And the guy who's creating all the problems inside right now is Salaridze. They can't block him out.
Yeah, he's number 13 in the white. He's the junior from Georgia.
And not like Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia.
Tbilisi.
Georgia.
Capital of the country. Christie, one power dribble into Trimble. Bacot down with another rebound. Trimble on the move, had a steam, lays it up and in. Nice transition work by Seth Trimble. And UC Riverside calls the timeout. North Carolina stretching its lead only halfway through the first. They're up 13.
Auto Owners insures your car.
Sunday, remember to catch a women's hoops doubleheader. 25th ranked Oklahoma goes to Virginia. That one at 2 Eastern. Bucknell at number 19 Louisville tips off right afterward at 4. Both on the ACC network, also streaming live on the ESPN app. A 9-0 North Carolina run as the Tar Heels up by 13 very quickly in this one. First half, first meeting between UC Riverside and UNC. The Highlanders, they've only played one other ACC team in their Division I era. That was Boston College. Oh, wow. Vicious rejection at the rim. Lead feed. It's our first half exclamation point. The block on one end and the wicked throwdown on the other.
Block on one end, an outstanding pass, and then the dunk.
Let's see if Paxton Wojcik can match it. Trying to lay it up with the left. He goes tumbling.
He slipped and fell down. It was off balance.
UCR the other way. Owens wants 3. Withers snatches it. Boy, Seth Trimble, the sophomore from Wisconsin, very reliable reserve a year ago. Trying to take a big step forward this season. Bacot just too strong in the paint. Draws the whistle.
North Carolina's defense has been extremely aggressive. It's been hard for UC Riverside to get inside. Withers with the block and a one-handed three-quarter court bounce pass that results in a fabulous dunk. Salaritze is 6'7", and Trimble just went right up over top of him. Ooh.
You know, you saw it playing out that split second ahead of time. Davis with a brilliant one-arm bounce pass lead feed. Credit Salaritze for trying to challenge him. But my goodness, that is one that's going to be on the Seth Trimble highlight reel at the start, I think, of the highlight reel at the end of this season.
Trimble's not small. He's 6'3", and he's very athletic, but he's not 6'7". And Salaritze thought, okay, I might be able to get to him. Salaritze had no chance.
Really highly touted recruit in that 22 class. He and Washington again, the lone sophomores that remain in this rotation. Bacot just took it away from Moses. Bacot kept on the throwdown. Now this is getting out of hand really quickly. UNC has just busted it wide open.
Wow, Armando Bacot jumps out on Moses. And remember what Mike Magpio told us earlier today. He's used to having big guards, and his starting guards now are each 6 feet tall. And there's just nothing you can do. Bacot just swallowed him up.
And it'll definitely be a work in progress for these UCR guards. You mentioned it. Moses, a junior college All-American a year ago. All-American, but he's got to make the leap to this Division I level. Hargress redshirted a season ago. This, in essence, his first year on the court. And they're getting pressed early on. It's a 30-9 lead, thanks to a 17-0 North Carolina run in this first half. So here is the aforementioned Hargress, takes it in. Wow. And puts it up and down.
Now that was a short shot, but it was a very tough shot.
He might not be the tallest. He's pretty wide, broad shoulders for Hargress. Again, just a redshirt freshman from Englewood, California. There's Ryan on the baseline. Kicks out to Davis. Washington trying to track it down. And he got shoved out of bounds. Tattersall is going to be whistled for the push.
North Carolina, of course, with tremendous size, and Tattersall just not able to keep up with Washington. And normally, you would say, okay, for UC Riverside to come back in the game, they have to tighten up the defense. But remember, last year, even despite their success, they had the worst shooting defense in the Big West. So this is not a team that is built on defense. It's a team that's built on three-point shooting. They haven't been able to make it.
Bryant way off from deep. He's taken a couple from beyond the arc. He's not connected yet. Zayden High winds up about 2 rows up into the stands behind the basket. A recent 17-0 run as you would.
He has just dominated on the interior. They really have nobody who can defend him, and that's not like a surprise. Very few people can defend Bacot effectively, but there he shows you his athleticism. He jumps out on the point guard and steals the ball.
It's an impressive start. He's got the 12 points. Yeah, the North Carolina size, physicality, obviously going to be problematic at times for this Big West foe. Here are the updated numbers, though. He's now top 10 in program history in scoring. All he needed was 7 tonight to pass the late Walter Davis. And then more than 1,300 rebounds as well. The work, the abilities, the talent, it's been on display for so many years now. This his 5th final season in Chapel Hill, utilizing that additional year of eligibility. There's a triple knocked down to the corner by Will Tattersall, and UC Riverside needed it. North Carolina went on a 17-0 run a few moments ago. UCR answering with a couple of baskets. Jalen Washington, fresh off hitting his first career 3. Tries a little more suitable turnaround. Jay could get that one to go.
North Carolina's done a nice job getting back on defense as well. Very few easy opportunities in transition for UC Riverside so far.
A team that'll likely be very competitive in its league, the Big West. They lost a whole bunch of their top players a year ago. Matter of fact, their top 3 scorers. So while they bring back 9, still have a lot of key roles that they need to replace and fill and determine who are going to be those players to step into those roles this season. Washington on the baseline.
Hit his first career 3 a couple of minutes ago. Now he gets a 2.
Sparks the confidence a bit. The sophomore from Gary, Indiana. He's got 5 in the early minutes. This one's going back to North Carolina. Give it away on the baseline that time.
Now Moses really trying to force it right there. North Carolina hasn't turned it over. They've had 7 different guys score. They've been able to get out in transition.
And Hubert Davis has used the word poise very often in the early goings of this season to describe his team. They've taken care of business against Radford and Lehigh. Now, a couple times in that Sunday win against Lehigh, their opponent that night pushed them, closed the gap, closed the deficit a bit, only to watch North Carolina really fly by and blow them out. Washington gets hacked in the paint. Jalon Martinez whistled for his 2nd. And so it seems, at least in the early goings, as if North Carolina has a not just experienced and veteran team. They're pretty poised and connected on the floor. Washington.
Pretty easy to be poised and connected when you're playing like this.
Yeah. Washington now 6 of 7 at the line this year. Tomorrow, Week 12 action. We're coming down the home stretch right here in the ACC network. Things get started with Louisville at Miami at noon. NC State is in Blacksburg to take on Virginia Tech. And then the primetime battle of the weekend features Syracuse and Georgia Tech in Atlanta. You can catch it anywhere on the ESPN app. There's the freshman. Elliot Cadeau, hammer pass, Ingram, offline that time. So we're coming up on the 5-minute mark in the first half. North Carolina built a double-digit lead very quickly. Has a 16-point advantage. Aiming to get to 3-0 to start this season before things get a little tougher next week. Shot clock draining. Christie sets the feet. Ingram rises high. Good glimpse of his physicality and athleticism at the rim right there. Ingram to Cadeau. Shot fake, drive, got it, and the foul.
That's really impressive by Cadeau. Now, Cadeau, he's a guy who can shoot the three. Hadn't made any this year yet, but you don't want to go for that pump fake out at the three-point line. Make him show you he can shoot it from out there, but Pickens bought the pump fake, and then Cadeau is just too quick. Once you buy that pump fake, you're not getting back to him.
The expectations are very high for this freshman from West Orange. 5-star, highly regarded prospect, so the media says he's the ACC preseason rookie of the year. Coming in with perhaps the most hype.
But he steps into a situation where he doesn't have to do everything. You know, you got R.J. Davis there, you got Cormac Ryan, you got Paxton Wojcik, you got Seth Trimble. You've got some guys who have some experience. You don't need to carry the burden yourself.
There's that depth shining once again. Riverside 26% shooting from the floor. They're 4 of 11 from deep. Looking for something to go right. Instead, a turnover. 3-on-2. Davis, unselfish, gets it to Ingram. Couldn't convert with the right hand. And Salaridze secures the ball. Hargress, one of the new Highlanders. He was with this team a year ago, but redshirted. So first year on the floor, running the offense.
This is really tough for Christie because he's trying to shoot over Bacot, or when Bacot's let in there Washington, and that's tough to do.
There's a handful of Highlanders swarmed Bacot that time. He lost the handle on the way up.
Literally, they had everybody around him.
Wasn't quite the double team. Triple team appeared. Christie, this time he connects.
Well, that time he had a little bit more time. Bacot went to help out, and Christie was ready to shoot that one.
Final minutes of the first. Riverside has hit 5 threes. Here's Davis, step back triple. He tumbles. Ingram saves it and flings it to Cadeau. So a new 20. Bacot's open. And mismatch there. Shorter defender. Bacot draws the foul with 3:02 to go in the first. As Feast Week gets going, North Carolina has the lead here in the first.
We go to the park and then we come back and it's still Disney themed. It never stops.
Fine start for North Carolina in this first half. Facing a team where they are beating up in the paint. At one point, they went on a 26-5 run over the stretch of about a 9-minute span. And they have the 15-point lead over visiting UC Riverside. Armando Bacot leading the way with 12 points.
They just smothered UC Riverside. And this is a situation, UC Riverside a little bit undersized. North Carolina more talented at each position, bigger at each position. This was a game where UC Riverside was going to have to make threes, and they started very slowly. They've made some recently. But they're now 5 from 13 from beyond the arc, and they need to make 15 threes today to even have a chance.
Right. A team that'll definitely be competitive in its league is just overmatched when it comes to the physicality of the game right now in this first half. There's Mike Magpaio, the head man.
Well, and keep in mind that Mike Magpaio, he understands what his team is going through, but he's trying to use the non-conference portion of his schedule to build toward conference play. And one of the biggest stories of the season so far, Armando Bacot is now 17 for 18 from the free throw line.
Yeah.
That's his first miss tonight. He's now 5 out of 6. but he's a career 66% free throw shooter. And I'm telling you, as much as he goes to the line, if he can make free throws at that kind of a clip, he's going to score a lot of points this year.
Yeah, he's acquitted himself quite nicely in the first 2.5 games of the season. Went for 22 and 20 in Sunday's win against Lehigh. It's a nice over-the-shoulder pass to Christie, cutting on the baseline. And 23 and 15 in the opener against Radford. And Danny's going right back to the line, putting himself in a position to either draw contact, get to the line, or score it right underneath the basket.
And that's probably the biggest feature of Bacot's game. He knows how to get in position, whether it's posting somebody up down low or just running to the open spot or following the dribbler to the basket. Bacot is a guy who knows how to get position inside.
134th career game now for Bacot, the ultimate veteran. Started all but one of them in his 4+ years in Chapel Hill. Well, we showed you that lineup tomorrow, the ACC network on the gridiron. Remember, the ACC huddle crew are going to get things started at 11 a.m. They will kick off the day in Atlanta at Bobby Dodd Stadium. Kelsey, Eric, Eddie, EJ, and Coach get you set for all the action. They're back again at 6:30, and then to wrap things up at 11 Eastern. Live from Atlanta, also on the app. Coming up on the final 2 minutes of the first half. North Carolina has led by double digits for the majority of this one. Oh, there's a stuff. Withers. Talk about smothered. Right there to reject the Martinez shot. Stays with it, though, and shows the resiliency underneath.
And that's been part of the problem for the Highlanders, is everything has been contested.
Not many clean looks at all. 32% shooting from the field.
The way you shoot a high percentage is you shoot easy shots, and just there haven't been any for UC Riverside tonight.
Salaridze whistled for the offensive. So can't be a high percentage look when there is a no percentage look.
Driving the ball to the basket. Again, Paxton Wojcik is his primary defender. He moves his feet, he gets position, and every time that arm goes flying out there, that's an automatic.
That's the second time Wojcik has drawn the offensive foul. That's the first North Carolina turnover of the game. Salaridze has this one lined up in the corner. Martinez got his hands on it, and Trimble secures the board. So now numbers for North Carolina. Trimble, eyes up, bounce pass down to Withers. Oh, spins his man around, can't finish. Hargress picks it up and slows things down with a minute to go in the first.
That was some quickness right there. Withers is going to be kicking himself that he missed that one. I think he's going to be a great addition to this North Carolina team. He is so talented and athletic.
Really dynamic player, former starter in Louisville. Spending his 5th and final season here at North Carolina. Hargress goes up with the right hand and showing his confidence around the rim.
Well, that's 7 points for him now, and they have all been. He's made a 3, but his 2 field goals have been in traffic. And again, he's 6 feet tall. He's a broad-shouldered 6 feet tall, but he doesn't mind getting in there, mixing it up.
Hubert Davis uses his timeout with just 22 seconds to go in the first. We'll step aside at Chapel Hill. They were up 30-9 at one point, but they've missed their last 6 shots, and so UC Riverside has shrunk the deficit a bit. 11-point game, 22.3 to go.
We talked about the fact that this is a UC Riverside team that's used to success. And they're a UC Riverside team where they had 9 guys who played last year who are back. They're not going to roll over. And, you know, they've been able to make some shots, and North Carolina has missed some shots, and that's how you get back in the game.
About a second and a half differential between shot and game clock. Davis shadowed by Hargress. Last possession, you'd think, for the Tar Heels on this side. Davis on the attack. Misses it off the left side. Up ahead to Salaridze. The heave as the clock expires. That's all. And it's an 11-point lead for North Carolina. Very numbers oriented. He's got this program going in the right trajectory. Although this season had a couple of early tests. Lost at Utah. This is their second game against a Power 5 opponent. North Carolina up double digits for the majority of this one.
Now they're coming out with a trap.
Paxson Wojcik left him wide open. That's offline. Ingram on the floor, squeezes it. A no-look to Wojcik. Bounced it to him, and he earns a couple of free throws.
Well, Wojcik is a guy who can shoot that shot, and I thought he hurried it a little bit when he didn't have to. But he did a really nice job following it up. And this is just a great play by Ingram. Getting down there, getting the ball. And from his backside, how did he see Wojcik? But he did.
It was the sitting down no-look pass from Harrison Ingram. And so Wojcik at the free throw line. One of those transfers we talked about. He grew up in Charleston, spent most of his childhood there, I should say. Spent the last couple years at Brown, started at Loyola Chicago. He is an experienced veteran that knows his role, knows who he is in this rotation, it appears, early on.
He's not here to be the leading scorer, the leading rebounder, the leading assist guy. He's here to guard, he's here to facilitate, he's here to make open shots.
And he can score. He averaged about 15 a game last year, was an all-Ivy League performer at Brown. Now wearing the Tar Heel blue. So where does UCR go to generate a little more of the offense? Christie hit a few threes. We'll see big man wearing the white jersey #1. He just got fouled there. No, he stepped out of bounds.
Got tied up.
Yeah.
He got the ball inside, too much dribbling. He brought it all the way down, and Ingram was able to tie him up. Christie, you can just look at him. He's not a great big muscle guy. He's a guy who wants to stand out there and shoot threes.
Ryan, and looking to knock down his first three from deep.
He's missed a couple now, and he doesn't really look comfortable shooting the three tonight. And he's generally a guy who shoots the three very well.
Yeah, he's 0 of 4 from beyond the arc. Moses misfires from deep. Ryan's got it here.
Bacot's deep position. They got to throw him the ball.
Here comes the double. That one's knocked away. Tattersall got a piece of it. Christie retrieves it for UCR. So the Highlanders come back this way.
That whole thing started. Bacot is wide open inside. They didn't get it to him early. And then by the time they did get it to him, he was surrounded.
Armbrust, crossover, attacks, blocked. Ryan knocks that one out of bounds.
Ryan is really a good defender. He moves his feet very well. And remember what we said with Hargress, he is 6 feet tall, and Ryan just stays right with him. And Cormac Ryan at 6'5".
Yeah. Ryan's an ACC veteran. He spent the last 3 years at Notre Dame. So he's checked off a lot of boxes, if you will. He started at Stanford, 3 years at Notre Dame, finishes at North Carolina. Academically, nice trio of schools Ryan has played at. First foul on the 6th-year senior from Manhattan. Same starting five out there for North Carolina.
See, Bacot switched out on Moses, and Moses really has to do a better job taking advantage when the big guy is trying to guard him out beyond the top of the key.
Instead, leads to a possession this side for North Carolina. It has missed its last 9 field goals on this side of the floor, stretching back to the first half. There's a kick. And so shot clock will reset to 20 for UNC.
There's not a lot of ball and player movement by the Tar Heels at the moment.
Meanwhile, Christie takes a seat.
Christie and Martinez appear to be the guys who are going to share that 5 spot. Sometimes in their previous games, UC Riverside has gone small, and Owens has played that 5 spot, but that's a little too dangerous tonight with the size of the Tar Heel.
Yeah, only 8 minutes for Owens. Foul on the floor. And That's another one that Bacot draws.
Martinez got impatient and fouled Bacot because Owens was coming over for a double team. And that's the strategy that we've seen UC Riverside apply here. When Bacot gets the ball, they attack him. And Owens and Martinez just got a little bit impatient there. Or did they call the foul on Owens? Okay, they called the foul on Owens.
Well, you're right, though. They have sworn Bacot every chance they get. Davis, off-balance jumper on the baseline. Got it. And the foul. He's got one more coming.
One of the advantages that the Tar Heels have is they have guys who can make individual plays. This is just a catch-and-shoot play. And Hardress sticks his arm in there.
And R.J. Davis can be instant offense in a blink of an eye. Went for 22 against Lehigh. Only hit one basket in the first half. And completes a three-point play. Poised leader now of this North Carolina team in his senior season. Well, he had some big games going back to that national title game run a year and a half ago.
Well, there's no question about his ability.
Salaridze misfires. Comes Cadeau. Credit UCR for just hanging around as long as they can. Ingram, very easy attack. Slipped past his man and laid it in.
Well, of course, now the Highlanders haven't scored here in the second half. Got a timeout.
So it's a timeout. North Carolina 7-0 run to start the second.
Not that into saving, are you?
Whoa.
Carolina is wearing their Carolina blue uniforms, normally what they wear on the road at home. The last time this happened a decade ago against UNC Wilmington, it was part of the aptly named Blue Year's Eve evening. So, of course, they went with the Carolina blue that night. You saw Marcus Page in one of those photos. So he was not only wearing the uniform the last time Carolina wore these at home, but now he's back on the bench. First year in an assistant role. He's on the support staff of Hubert Davis's staff. So, and the story goes, UC Riverside, they get new uniforms this year. Only the home uniforms have showed up. They're still waiting on the road blues. So they very gently reached out to North Carolina and asked, do you mind if we wear our home whites? North Carolina graciously obliged. And so here we go. For the first time in a decade, the Carolina blue is being worn inside this building at home for a game.
Of course, in 2020, they had a 100-year throwback thing to do, and so they wore blue uniforms, but they weren't the traditional uniform. The time before that, it was in 1990, in the, get this, the Big East ACC Challenge.
With insurance from auto owners, you can relax knowing we got you covered. That's simple human sense.
18 early in the second half. Elliot Cadeau, the five-star freshman, at the line in a moment. Two-man class, but not about quantity. It was about quality with these two. Cadeau and Zayden High form the 23 freshman class, and both come in with a lot of upside. Elliot Cadeau earning quite a bit of minutes in the early goings of this season. A pass-first, rhythmic sort of guard. Likes to pass, doesn't necessarily need to take a whole bunch of shots. Has seemingly fit in nicely in these first few games in rotation. Remember, our next All Access, the ACC Live premieres Sunday, highlighted by the Notre Dame women's soccer program, NC State men's soccer, and Louisville field hockey. You're going to get unprecedented access to the lives of these players, coaches, administrators, etc. That's on ACC Network. UNC forces that turnover. Cadeau is right there.
That's now 12 turnovers. Mike Magpeo not really happy with that.
No, not quite pleased. 12-3 is the turnover differential. -9 for the visiting Highlanders.
And Mike Magpaio didn't come in here expecting this to be easy. You know, what happened was UC Riverside had such a great year last year that they couldn't find people to play him. And so he told his ops director, he said, look, just send an email out to everybody. And whoever will play us at such and such an amount of money, first school that responds will play. And so the ops guy came in a week later and said, we found somebody. He said, who? And he said, North Carolina. He said, the North Carolina in Chapel Hill? So they're very excited.
So Magpaio, back at a state where he coached as an assistant, he was down the road at Campbell for a few years. Late shot clock attempt there was offline. Ingram finds Bacot. That pass, though, hit him in the knees. It pinballs to Davis.
Well, it didn't hit him in the knees. It hit him in the ankles. You can't throw Bacot the ball there. Now what? I think they got Gristy tangling up with Bacot on the inside. Bacot, yeah, that's the foul on Christie. But Bacot has now been fouled 7 times.
He just draws so much attention.
Well, the interesting thing today is North Carolina has actually struggled playing off that attention. A lot of times the Tar Heels can really take advantage of all the attention being devoted to Bacot. They can get other guys open, but they have struggled at times with that this evening.
So it was an 11-point UNC lead at the break. It's nearly doubled. The Highlanders haven't scored yet. It's 9-zip North Carolina after halftime. Cadeau had it poked free. Moses, good sleight of hand. Up ahead to Luke Turner. We haven't seen too much of Turner tonight. And he misfires from deep. Couldn't hit the corner 3.
And that's the kind of shot that the Highlanders are going to have to make to have success this year. Open 3 in transition. And now, when you miss a 3 like that, that allows your opponent to get out and go. And very easy opportunity for Ingram.
Hubert Davis loves the versatility and just the dynamic abilities of Ingram. One quick dribble. You saw how close range he got that look from the paint. Now has 9 points. 4 of 8 from the field. Ooh. Martina, the big man. Missed everything, though. Davis coming back the other way. It's an 11-0 UNC run to start the second half. Davis wants this one, lines it up, and knocks it down. It's the largest lead of the game by far for North Carolina. 14-0 run to start the second half.
Got a double team down on Ingram. And when Moses leaves, I mean, if you leave R.J. Davis that wide open, yeah, you want to get down on Ingram and double team, but somebody's got to rotate over. You can't just leave Davis alone.
So he's 3 of 10 from deep. That's his first triple. 3 of 10 from the field, I should say. He keeps shooting, and eventually he's going to make you pay, and he does so there. Coming off the 22-point performance against Lehigh.
You know, it's actually fairly interesting. The Tar Heels overall are only shooting about 42%. So they have, and particularly from three-point range, they have not shot the ball well. And this is a team that has guys who are good three-point shooters. Ingram can shoot the 3. Cormac Ryan can shoot the 3. Wojcik can shoot the 3. Davis can obviously shoot the 3. Cadeau has made a 3 tonight, although that was his first one of the season and of his career.
Wrong uniform tonight. That's going to hurt someone.
Check the shooting percentages 10 years ago against UNC Wilmington.
A lot of capable, to your point, though, shooters and veterans in this rotation. And that's why it just feels like, well, last year's team certainly didn't quite reach its potential. It still feels like a very nicely constructed roster.
You know, I don't know that not reaching their potential is the right phrase. They certainly didn't meet expectations, but the expectations were ridiculous.
Very high when you're the preseason #1, sure. Moses from deep, couldn't hit the step back. And Dan, they still win 20 games. End up going 11-9 in the ACC, however, missed the NCAA tournament. And what was maybe missing last year was just that signature win, or several of those on the resume a season ago.
Well, it was tough. The Atlantic Coast Conference, based on the metric, the net metric, it was hard to play in the ACC and get a quad 1 win. There are very few teams that had a net good enough to produce a quad 1. In fact, last year in the conference, it's easier to win a game at home than on the road.
Yeah.
And the only team you could play at home last year and get a quad 1 win under that net system was Duke. So North Carolina, they didn't play up to expectations, but you know, it was hard. The conference, according to the net, had a down year, but again, the conference produced another Final Four team. So.
Exactly. And so that's why, well, this is a point you brought up this week. It's very important to see how a conference fares this time of year in the non-conference, in those premier out-of-conference battles. The league has fared pretty well so far. Washington, now he's got 2 triples.
Well, 2 triples in his career. And Washington is a guy who comes in. He's not a back-to-the-basket 5 guy in the same mold as Bacot. He's a guy that wants to face and shoot. And he's going to get more opportunities if he shoots it like that.
It's still a shutout in the second half. From up 11 to now up 28. Christie trying to turn on Trimble. That one was too strong. And then a foul on the floor. That'll keep things here.
We talked about Washington. You know, he's not a guy who's going to set up inside, but he's just wide open from 3. And Christie, you know, reluctant to get out. You know, the report on him, he hadn't made a 3 in his career, and he's made 2 tonight.
Those 9
Ohio is wondering what the heck.
Yeah, those 9 points, second only to Bacot among UNC scores. Trimble was trying to tie up Christie. Fights away from the double team and a couple of the pesky guards right up in him. Moses behind the back throws another whistle. So that takes us to a timeout, but consecutive fouls. Here's the Highlanders' possession on the other side, facing a big hole.
With insurance from auto owners.
Some significant games that the ACC has been in this week, if you will. The signature one, Duke over Michigan State earlier this week. Couple of wins tonight. ACC over other power conference teams. So, Dave, let's crunch the numbers, if you will. This season, the ACC's out-of-conference win percentages, 81%. There's the record, 38-9. And, you know, compared to the last couple of seasons, much better.
Absolutely, and that's a key because the NCAA evaluation tool, the net, the way they figure things out, they're trying to make all these games important, and they've actually done a pretty good job of that, but I think maybe they've gone overboard a little bit. But if your conference doesn't play well in the non-conference portion of the schedule, then the teams, when you go into conference play, you're going to have a bunch of teams with low net ranking.
Yes.
And therefore, it's going to be hard for you to recover.
Oh, gosh. Withers just erases that one. That's the second time that he has done a vicious block.
It's been tough to get it in there. But last year, for example, the Big 12, which only had 10 teams last year, they started conference play based on their non-conference team performance, with no conference team having a net higher than 60. And so what that means is you're playing a lot of quad 1 games within the conference. The ACC didn't have that. Here, Hargis drives to the basket and finds Withers. And again, Withers at 6'9", very athletic. He missed some time with a concussion, but I think he's going to be a very valuable player for this Tar Heel team.
Yeah, slowly building and increasing the minutes over the course of these first 3 games. 3 blocks. Moses off-balance runner. No chance there. Ryan down with the board. But Dan, your point is a really, really important one. Withers now in the basket. He's got 2 free throws coming. Because the better the conference does leading up to conference play means, we were starting to say it, just more opportunities for league wins to be valuable, as opposed to, you said it before, what, last year Duke was the only opportunity for a quad 1 win. Yeah.
Well, it's a quad 1 win at home. And obviously it's easier to win a game at home than on the road. But the ACC had a lot of teams with fairly bad net rankings last year. And once you get into conference play, you saw it many times. The team would play, here's what we're talking about. This is a quad 1 game, and these are the gold for the NCAA at-large selection process. If you play a team at home and that your opponent is 1 through 30 and you win, that's a quad 1 win. On a neutral court, it's 1 through 50. If you play a team on the road, of course, it's harder to win on the road. And 1 through 75, so there were some opportunities for quad 1 wins on the road in the ACC last year, but just not as many as the conference needed to have.
North Carolina forces a steal in the backcourt, although come away with nothing there. Salaridze picks up the loose basketball after Cadeau lost it.
You know, there were times last year when an ACC team that was fighting for an at-large bid would play a team in the lower part of the standings, and they'd win the game, and their net would actually go down.
Right. It would negatively impact that number. Salaridze winds up wide open underneath, and so there you go. UC Riverside with its first basket after halftime. It took 9.5 minutes.
Wow.
But a couple of important wins for the conference tonight. Miami beats Georgia down in the Bahamas. A lot of tournament games in the Bahamas these days.
Well, why wouldn't you want to play in the Bahamas?
Exactly. They'll play in the championship of that tournament in 2 days. Notre Dame beat Oklahoma State in overtime earlier this season. That's Nate Pickens way off on the 3.
That's a great outlet.
Cadeau able to track it down. Trimble steps into the mid-range. Salaridze secures the rebound. And fully on display a few days ago, the bounce-back win by Duke over Michigan State on Tuesday in Chicago. Now, undoubtedly the signature win for any team in the conference just yet. But those opportunities are coming, especially for a team like North Carolina as it heads to the Bahamas next week to face its first big exams of the year. It's going to open up against Northern Iowa, but then it would face the winner of either Villanova or Texas Tech. Other teams in that tournament field, Dan, next week: Arkansas, Michigan, Memphis, Stanford as well.
Possibility for some good tests right there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, and in the tournament setting as well, when they are down in the Bahamas for the Battle for Atlantis tournament, it'll play 3 games in 3 days. Tattersall's 3 is offline, and that 3-point number starts to look a bit more dubious for UC Riverside at 5 of 22 from deep. Ryan couldn't convert at the rim. This is Hardress, the redshirt freshman.
Tar Heels switching everything on defense, and that has really presented problems for the Highlanders. And, you know, speaking of the Highlanders, North Carolina this is their 3rd game, and this is the 2nd time they've played the Highlanders. There's only 2 D1 schools who are known as the Highlanders. The Radford Highlanders and Mike Pio's Highlanders. Now, why is UC Riverside the Highlanders? Well, right at the campus are the Box Spring Mountains, which are also known as the Highlands.
That's right.
And UC Riverside, in addition to that, their campus has the highest elevation of any campus in the University of California system.
That's quite a distinction.
Yeah, so I don't think there's a lot of Scotsmen out there. Maybe there is. Maybe that's why we're not.
So 3 games in, twice UNC has faced Highlanders, one from Radford, the other, of course, from Southern California. Hope everybody on the West Coast enjoying tonight's presentation. We are starting the ACC Network California market penetration a year early tonight. Good ball movement on this side of the floor. Ingram with the 3. That one's off the mark, and the foul is going to keep things here.
And we've seen a lot of fouls like this called against UC Riverside, trying to battle that North Carolina size. And it's just very difficult. That time, I think it was Moses that got wrapped up, or was it Hargris who got wrapped up with Jalen High.
That's the first foul on Hargris. And that's the 7th team foul for UC Riverside. I think UC Riverside, a player on the UCR side, was just assessed a technical.
Well, maybe not.
Yeah, because it looks like Zayden High is going to head to the free throw line for the 1-and-1.
There's another foul.
Here. Yeah, they're starting to pile up now, so that is 8 fouls. We get 9 team fouls on UCR.
Ingram just too quick to the ball. Martinez couldn't get a block out. It's Caleb Smith, number 2 in white, just in the game. Played a couple minutes in the first half.
So UNC now 15 for 20 at the line tonight. So there was a double technical. That was the call. So,
so
the 2
But
offenders, Zayden High and Lemire Salaritze.
Cancels out.
Yep.
So just move on. Like offsetting penalties in football.
That's it. And so you send UNC to the line. They missed the free throw, got it back. And now we're going to have a 1-on-1 on this end of the floor.
Now, unlike offsetting penalties in football, the technical foul counts as toward the personal foul total for both of those players. It was Zayden High and Salaritze who were called for the technicals.
That's the second foul on Ingram. And this is the aforementioned Caleb Smith. A lot of recent trips to the line, and neither team has cashed in on many of them. Ingram trying to back down the young freshman. Ingram using the size, turns, can't hit it. Bounces back out to Trimble. Bacot squares and hits.
He doesn't shoot for 3, but he showed you he can shoot from the free throw line in that 12 to 15-foot range. You give him that much time, he's going to be able to convert that one. He's now got 16 points.
16 for Bacot to lead the way, leading all scorers. And UCR needs another minute. Timeout in Chapel Hill.
This is the all-electric Polestar 2.
Back in 2019, also Stanford, Arkansas, Texas Tech, UNC opens against Northern Iowa.
One of the problems, you saw that picture of Michigan, that was Hunter Dickinson. He's not there anymore. He's at Kansas, so that's a good field. And the Tar Heels have played a lot of guys tonight, and that's what they would like to do throughout the season.
Yeah, North Carolina has quite a bit of depth, and that's going to help, of course, in a 3-day tournament. Coaches love playing in tournaments like that. It simulates having to prepare for teams like in the NCAA tournament on such short notice, if you will. Michigan with its signature win earlier this year against St. John's. Villanova is going to have to rebound from that upset against Penn just a few days ago. And the turnover is going to give it back to UCR. North Carolina has outscored the visiting Highlanders 24-6. Memphis, meanwhile, with a win over Mizzou on the road at Missouri, its signature win thus far. big names and some excellent teams on display next week in the Bahamas. That three is down for Hargress, who appears like he could very well be the most prolific scorer for this UCR team this season. He's averaging 12 a game. He's into double figures now. There's the steal and the flush. Nate Pickens. It's back-to-back baskets for the Highlanders.
A lot like in the first half. The Tar Heels a little sloppy on the offensive end.
And so it's actually an 8-0 Highlanders run. Right after North Carolina built its largest lead of the evening. Jalen takes from the follow slam, gets his crowd back up.
Everybody is surrounding Bacot. When the ball got kicked back out, they didn't have time to get back to their own men. Nice job by High to just go right to the basket.
Zayden High, he's an ESPN 100 recruit in this past 23 class. It seems like he's got quite a bit of upside and potential. Hargress high off the glass, couldn't get it to go. Offensive rebound down to the Highlanders. Wojcik got his hand on that one. Bacot secures the loose ball.
Well, really well done defensively by Bacot. You know, even though the guard got by him, the guard didn't really have any room. Uh-oh.
Bacot for three! Just the second of his career. That's 19 for Bacot. That's why you come back for one more season. He realized he only had one from deep. Now he's got two. Foul the entry pass. Tattersall draws the whistle.
Well, we're talking about Zayden High, and Bacot kicks the ball out. Then Bacot's trying to get to the basket, draws a lot of attention. Nobody pays any attention to Zayden High. And he just runs right in. Ingram's running into your picture. Nobody blocks him out. Give a guy that size a clean run at the basket, you're asking for trouble.
He's from right outside of Dallas. Rockwell, Texas is where he's from. Had a good high school career outside of the Metroplex. Spent last year at Arizona Compass, where he lost to the Geico Nationals Finals to Elliot Cadu's part in Link Academy squad. So those two faced off last April in the Geico Nationals. Now here they are, both in the same roster. Bacot stuff. Quick move to the bucket.
Well, if he's going to catch the ball there, there's just nothing you can do.
No chance. And so the lead balloons back to 30. Second biggest lead of the night for North Carolina. A game that it has had control over since the opening minutes. They built the double-digit lead very quickly, and they have maintained a double-digit advantage since about 6-7 minutes in. Hargress showing his confidence.
He can't get by Bacot.
Yep. Had to kick back out to Christie, and Christie is taking a number of shots from beyond the arc. He's 3 of 6 from deep. Make it 3 of 7 after the latest miss. Another reloads. No, can't get it to go that time.
Well, the first one was okay. I don't know about the second. Don't want to get carried away.
Sometimes those are a little more tempting in a 30-point game.
Yes.
That was a block. Bacot timed that one up nicely and sent the Pickens layup into the first row behind the basket.
So Bacot, that's a couple of blocked shots. He's not going to get his double-double tonight.
Takes a seat with 21 points, 7 rebounds, and yeah, that unit that just took a seat. Wojcik, Davis, Ingram, Bacot. Again, a couple of veteran all-conference returners, a couple of just very impactful transfers. Again, trying to blend together in the early portion of the schedule. One to shoot. Not sure if Pickens recognizes it. Finally does. Lets it go. Shot clock violation. And so we step aside one last time. 3:58 to go with North Carolina leading by 30. Danny only had one of these until tonight. Armando Bacot let it fly from deep.
Why not?
UNC up 30. Armando Bacot proved to be too much again tonight. Different opponent, different day, same story. That's another 20-point game for Bacot. So 20 plus at all three, 21 and 7 tonight against UC Riverside. We update the numbers.
Pretty impressive resume.
Yeah, approaching 1,900 points. Nearly 1,400 rebounds. Again, that's most in program history. Past Tyler Hansborough last season. The 70th double-double on Sunday, so he's going to fall short of number 71. But he, his size and his IQ and positioning around the basket proved to be too much tonight.
Well, his strength and his mobility are really problems for just about anybody that play. Interestingly enough, Cormac Ryan has had a tough game. Only 1 for 6, has a couple of assists.
And 13 against Lehigh on Sunday, but yeah, tonight just couldn't find anything and couldn't find the stroke from deep. 0 of 4 from beyond the arc. Nice pass inside, and Riverside. The latest bucket goes to Ben Christie, junior from Adelaide, Australia. He's got a pretty decent shot arsenal. This is Hargress from 3. Withers tried to save it, could not.
Well, you run a risk when you sit right down there on the baseline.
Somebody got a high five out of it. Withers, one of the first-year transfers. There are many of them in the rotation. Ryan, Wojcik. Withers as well, along with Harrison Ingram. So Ryan stays out on the floor. Washington and Trimble have come in. In the final minutes of this one. And it's a game in which North Carolina went up double digits very quickly. At one point built a 22-point advantage around the midway mark of the first half. UCR got it back to 11 at halftime. Only to watch North Carolina go on a 17-0 run to begin the second half. And so UNC has had a large lead for the majority of this second half. And this is a Riverside program that they lost a whole bunch of scoring from that 22-win team from a year ago. So integrating a lot of fresh faces into its rotation as well this year. But you would expect that this is a team that's very well going to compete once again for a Big West title.
Well, Mike Magpie told us that for the last 3 years, he had the same guard tandem.
Yep.
And so with veteran guards, that really helps you. And he does not have veteran guards right now. And that's in this non-conference portion of the schedule. The guards that he has are going to develop. And I'm telling you, they expect to compete in the Big West.
They had gotten a reputation in recent years of knocking off some power conference teams. Remember, they beat Arizona State at the Horn. Half-court buzzer beater sunk the Sun Devils a couple of years ago. Mike Magpie, he does reference one signature out-of-conference win his first season as head coach. He was hired shortly after the pandemic set in. It was that pandemic-affected season, the 20-21 year, and they beat Washington right out of the gate. A game in which he said was something that was totally invigorated not just the fan base, it was something the university could rally around as well. And since then, he has helped change the trajectory of this basketball program, which really hasn't had too many winning seasons. Oh, nice feed. There's the young point guard, Isaiah Moses. Sophomore from Anchorage, Alaska. Trimble right around his man, lays it up and in.
North Carolina, they've been very effective on the defensive end. They've been very effective in transition. times they got a little bit sloppy on the offensive end, not with turnovers, just not getting very good shots. But for the most part, they've played very well this evening.
That three is down. Ni Olabade buries the triple. It's a junior from California who just scored his first career point. So what a place to do it inside Dean Smith Center. Less than a minute to go. North Carolina is going to improve to 3-0 again before. It's Trimble from deep. So Seth Trimble with 11 on 5 of 7 shooting. Basket interference, score the goal. Wojcik sit down. In comes Creighton Lebo. And James Okonkwo, transfer from West Virginia. In addition to Dewey Ferris. Lebo high off the glass. Okonkwo trying to tip it back in. And Riverside back the other way. So awaiting North Carolina in the Bahamas. A whole bunch of difficult opponents. Here's Zayden high. Picks the pocket of Moses, only to lose it at the rim. Andres into the corner. Olabade with 2 threes. But North Carolina improves to 3-0 tonight. 77-52 the final. And Hubert Davis's team 3-0 heading to the Bahamas next week.
Well, the level of competition